chat. It was a regular Friday night, and I was up late chatting to my friend Bradley on this virtual chat room we had found online. He told me and the other guys we had just met that he was able to stay up as late as he wanted because his parents were away until the weekend and he had the house to himself. We stayed on there for a few hours, having fun with these random people, and I noticed Bradley had taken a liking to one girl in particular. Soon enough, my mom began calling out for me to go to sleep. As I was about to log off, I asked Bradley what he was doing tomorrow, thinking he might want to stop by my place. He didn't reply for a while, until Bradley is typing a message. Then it went blank. Bradley is typing a message. Nothing again. All right, whatever, man. I'm going to bed. We'll talk about it tomorrow, I said. It was strange for him to just stop replying like that. I didn't hear from him again until the next day when I logged onto the chat site and he was on. He apologized for not replying last night and said he had just been busy. We had a brief exchange, and he said he would come over soon, saying it was urgent. That was fine, but I asked him why he didn't want to wait to see his parents first, who would be home any minute. He insisted there was no time, because he had something really important to show me. And then he logged straight off. I thought that was out of character for him, as he usually put his family before anything. And I grew curious at what he wanted to show me so badly. I expected him to be over soon, as he only lived about 20 minutes away, when I received a disturbing phone call. It was Bradley's parents, who had just come home and were sounding extremely worried. They asked if I knew on Bradley's whereabouts, to which I told them not to worry, because he was in fact on his way over. The phone fell silent for a moment, until I heard a deathly scream from the mother in the background on the other end of the line. The father drew a deep breath and bravely strung together a sentence that I'll never forget. Get out of the house now. Bradley's here. He's dead. They had found Bradley's lifeless body, hung up like a coat in the wardrobe. I ended the call in shock, as it became apparent why he had asked if I would be home alone, when suddenly I heard the back door creak open. Instinctively, I did the first thing I could think of and quickly crawled under my bed to hide. I heard the sound of footsteps coming closer, ever so slowly. I dared not to open my eyes, but when I dreadfully peeked through my fingers, I saw these pale white, cold, bare feet coming into my room, almost in slow motion. I would hate to see the person such feet belonged to. As they slowly approached the bed, you could hear the dampness of the footsteps peeling away from the floorboards. My heart was pounding in my mouth, and I held my breath, just when I couldn't possibly get any more scared. My phone let out a loud beep to notify me that I had received a message. It was from Bradley's phone and read, "Where are you?" As the feet stopped abruptly, dead in their tracks. Smile dog. You try to tell yourself over and over, it's just an image, just a stupid picture of a stupid dog that someone had photoshopped teeth onto. It isn't even scary, or at least it doesn't scare you, not one bit. How could it scare you? It's just a picture. You tell yourself these things, but when you do, You lie. The image does scare you. Something about that smile. Too wide with too many teeth. The same all better to eat you with smile that the big bad wolf gave to Red Riding Hood. A smile full of threat and sharpness. A predatory smile. Again, you try to bury the idea, to ignore it. But it's no use. Even when you close your eyes, you see it, smiling maniacally back at you. The eyes, illuminated and searing, burning into your mind, your soul. You know right then, you have to get rid of it. To pass the image on to someone else. To do as the thing says and spread the word. You know that you'll do these things because you must. Because if you don't, you know that eventually he will pay you a visit. The Smile Dog Creepypasta, also often referred to as smile.jpg, concerns a supposedly cursed or demonic image of a Siberian husky with a menacing expression and an exaggeratedly large smile from a mouth seemingly filled with human teeth. According to this story, the image depicting Smile Dog is an image of a demon or evil spirit that then plagues and torments anyone who has looked upon it with horrendous visions and nightmares, impelling them to spread the word by sharing the image with others. The longer the victim continues without sharing the image, the more extreme the haunting becomes. And if the image is not shared, then Smile Dog takes his true form, either killing the victim, driving them to the point of insanity, or in many versions, dragging them away to hell. The original image associated with the smile.jpg, Smile Dog Creepypasta, shows a Siberian husky with what appears to be a heavily photoshopped mouth. The husky is gray-black, and the image shows only the head and neck with prominent pointed ears. The eyes of the dog are illuminated by the camera flash so that they take on a glowing quality, and the manner in which the dog is looking directly into the lens, as if posing for a portrait in a disturbingly human fashion. Most unsettling, however, is the smile, which, aside from appearing too wide for the mouth itself to contain, seems not to contain canine teeth, but more human or primate. I first met in person with Mary E. in the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terrence, to see her for an interview. Mary had initially agreed, since I was not a news person, but rather an amateur writer gathering information for a few college assignments. And if all went according to plan, some pieces of fiction. We scheduled the interview for a particular weekend when I was in Chicago on unrelated business. But at the last moment, Mary changed her mind and locked herself in the couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour, I sat with Terrence as we camped outside the bedroom door, me listening and taking notes while he attempted fruitlessly to calm his wife. The things Mary said made little sense, but fit with the pattern I was expecting. Though I couldn't see her, I could tell from her voice that she was crying. And more often than not, her objections to speaking with me centered around an incoherent diatribe on her dreams, her nightmares. Terrence apologized profusely when we ceased the exercise, and I did my best to take it in stride. Recall that I wasn't a reporter in search of a story, but merely a curious young woman in search of information. Besides, I thought at the time, I could perhaps find another similar case if I put my mind and resources to it. Mary E. was the size-up for a small Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1992 when she first encountered smile.jpg, and her life changed forever. She and Terrence had been married for only 5 months. Mary was one of an estimated 400 people who saw the image when it was posted as a hyperlink on the BBS, though she is the only one who has spoken openly about the experience. The rest have remained anonymous, or are perhaps dead. In 2005, when I was only in 10th grade, smile.jpg was first brought to my attention by my burgeoning interest in web-based phenomena. Mary was most often cited victim of what is sometimes referred to as smile.dog. The being smile.jpg is refuted to display. What caught my interest, other than the obvious macabre elements of the cyber legend, and my proclivity toward such things, was the sheer lack of information, usually to the point that people don't believe it even exists, other than as a rumor or hoax. It's unique because, though the entire phenomenon centers on a picture file, that file is nowhere to be found on the internet. Certainly, many photo-manipulated simulacra litter the web, showing up with the most frequency on sites such as 4chan, particularly the X-focused paranormal subboard. It's suspected these are fakes because they do not have the true effect of smile.jpg, the one that it is believed to have, namely sudden onset temporal lobe epilepsy and acute anxiety. This purported reaction in the viewer is one of the reasons the phantom-like smile.jpg is regarded with such disdain, since it is patently absurd. Though depending on whom you ask, the reluctance to acknowledge smile.jpg's existence might be just as much out of fear as it is out of disbelief. Neither smile.jpg nor smile.dog is mentioned anywhere on Wikipedia, though the website features articles on such other, perhaps more scandalous shock sites, such as Tub Girl or Two Girls, One Cup. Any attempt to create a page pertaining to smile.jpg is similarly deleted by any of the encyclopedia's many admins. Encounters with smile.jpg are the stuff of internet legend. Mary E.'s story is not unique. There are unverified rumors of smile.jpg showing up in the early days of Usenet, and even one persistent tale that in 2002, a hacker flooded the forums of humor and satire website Something Awful with a deluge of smile.dog pictures, rendering almost half the forum's users at the time epileptic. It is also said that in the mid to late 90s, that smile.jpg circulated on Usenet, and as an attachment of a chain email with the subject line, "Smile, God loves you." Yet, despite the huge exposure these stunts would generate, there are very few people who admit to having experienced any of them, and no trace of the file or any link has ever been discovered. Those who claim to have seen smile.jpg often weakly joke they were far too busy to save a copy of the picture to their hard drive. However, all alleged victims offer the same description of the photo. A dog-like creature, usually described as appearing similar to a Siberian husky, illuminated by the flash of the camera, sits in a dim room, the only background detail that is visible being a human hand extending from the darkness near the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described as beckoning. Of course, most attention is given to the dog, or dog creature, as some victims are more certain than others about what they claim to have seen. The muzzle of the beast is reputedly split in a wide grin, revealing 2 rows of very white, very straight, very sharp, very human-looking teeth. This is, of course, not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims who claim to have seen the picture endlessly repeated in their mind's eye during the time they are, in reality, having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue indeterminably, often while the victims sleep, resulting in very vivid and disturbing nightmares. These may be treated with medication, though in some cases it is more effective than others. Mary E., I assumed, was not on effective medication. That's why, after my visit to her apartment in 2007, I sent out feelers to several folklore and urban legend-oriented news groups, websites, and mailing lists, hoping to find the name of a supposed victim of smile.jpg who felt more interested in talking about his or her experiences. For a time, nothing happened, and at length, I forgot completely about my pursuits, since I had begun my freshman year of college and was quite busy. Mary contacted me via email, however, near the beginning of March 2008. To scb@mail.com from Mary E. Subject: last summer's interview. Dear Miss Bloom, I am incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope you understand. It was no fault of yours, but rather my own problems that led me to act out as I did. I realized that I could have handled the situation more decorously. However, I hope you will forgive me. At the time, I was afraid. You see, for 15 years, I have been haunted by smile.jpg. Smile.dog comes to me in my sleep every night. I know that sounds silly, but it's true. There's an ineffable quality about my dreams, my nightmares, that makes them completely unlike any real dreams I have ever had. I don't move and I don't speak. I simply look ahead, and the only thing ahead of me is the scene from that horrible picture. I see the beckoning hand, and I see Smile Dog. It talks to me. It's not a dog, of course, though I'm not quite sure what it really is. It tells me it will leave me alone if only I do as it asks. All I must do, it says, is spread the word. That is how it phrases its demands. And I know exactly what it means. It wants me to show it to someone else. And I could. The week after my incident, I received in the mail a manila envelope with no return address. Inside was only a 3.5-inch floppy diskette. Without having to check, I knew precisely what was on it. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a coworker. I could even show it to Terrence, as much as the idea disgusted me. And what would happen then? Well, if Smile Dog kept its word, I could sleep. Yet if it lied, what would I do? And who was to say something worse would not come for me if I did as the creature asked? So I did nothing for 15 years, though I kept the diskette hidden among my things. Every night for 15 years, Smile Dog has come to me in my sleep and demanded that I spread the word. For 15 years, I've stood strong, though there have been hard times. Many of my fellow victims on the BBS board, where I first encountered smile.jpg, stopped posting. I heard some of them committed suicide. Others remained completely silent, simply disappearing off the face of the web. They are the ones I worry about the most. I sincerely hope you will forgive me, Miss Bloom. The last summer, when you contacted me and my husband about an interview, I was near the breaking point. I decided I was going to give you the floppy diskette. I did not care if Smile Dog was lying or not. I just wanted it to end. You were a stranger, someone I had no connection with. And I thought I wouldn't feel sorrow when you took the diskette as part of your research and sealed your fate. Shortly before you arrived, I realized what I was doing. I was plotting to ruin your life. I couldn't stand the thought, and in fact, I still cannot. I'm ashamed, Miss Bloom, and I hope this warning will dissuade you from further investigation of smile.jpg. You may in time encounter someone who is, if not weaker than I, then wholly more depraved. Someone who will not hesitate to follow Smile Dog's orders. Stop while you are still whole. Sincerely, Mary E. Terrence contacted me later that month with the news that his wife had killed herself. While cleaning up the various things she'd left behind, closing email accounts and the like, he happened above the above message. He was a man in shambles. He wept as he told me to listen to his wife's advice. He found the diskette, he revealed, and burned it until it was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. The part that most disturbed him, however, was how the diskette had hissed as it melted. Like some sort of animal, he said. I will admit that I was a little uncertain about how to respond to this. At first I thought perhaps it was a joke, with the couple belated me playing with the situation in order to get a rise out of me. A quick check of several Chicago newspapers' online obituaries, however, proved that Mary E. was indeed dead. There was, of course, no mention of suicide in the article. I decided that, for a time at least, I wouldn't further pursue the subject of smile.jpg, especially since I had finals coming up at the end of May. But the world has odd ways of testing us. Almost a full year after I'd returned from my disastrous interview with Mary E., I received another email to scb@mail.com from Elizabeth82. Subject: Smile. Hello. I found your email address through a mailing list. Your profile said you were interested in Smile Dog. I've seen it. It's not as bad as everyone says. I have sent it to you here. Just spreading the word. The final line chilled me to the bone. It was simply a smiley emote. According to my email client, there was one file attachment called, naturally, smile.jpg. I sat and considered downloading it for some time. It was most likely a fake, I imagined. And even if it weren't, I was never wholly convinced of smile.jpg's peculiar powers. Mary E's account had shaken me, yes. But she was probably mentally unbalanced anyway. After all, how could a simple image do what smile.jpg was said to accomplish? What sort of creature was it that it could break one's mind with only the power of the eye? And if such things were patently absurd, then why did the legend exist at all? If I downloaded the image, if I looked at it, and if Mary turned out to be correct, if smile.dog came to me in my dreams, demanding I spread the word, what would I do? Would I live my life as Mary had, fighting against the urge to give in until I died? Or would I simply spread the word, eager to be put to rest? And if I chose the latter route, how could I do it? Who would I burden in turn? If I went through with my earlier intention to write a short article about smile.jpg, I decided I could attach it as evidence, and anyone who read the article, anyone who took interest, would be affected. And even assuming the smile.jpg attached to the email was genuine, would I be capricious enough to save myself in that manner? Could I spread the word? Yes. Yes, I could.